Today's project, I'm going to header wrap my exhaust. I've already header wrapped my turbo manifold. That's done. Didn't film that, sorry. Last night I painted the exhaust except for the tips because they're going to get polished. I painted the exhaust with some VHT flameproof. Just a little extra heat containment. I'm not sure that it does a whole lot, but it's $10 a can and took about 20 minutes. So you can see I already started here. Kind of got ahead of myself before I grabbed the camera. I'm using DEI, 1.5 inch or 2 inch, I'm not sure, one or the other, black header wrap. First thing I do with it is take it and throw it in a bucket of hot water. The bucket of hot water is going to turn black. That's just dye coming off it. Don't worry about that. Don't wear good clothes though, because as you're wrapping it, you're flicking it and you'll make a mess. As you can see, I'm wearing my Sunday's best. I also recommend gloves, otherwise your hands will be dyed black. What else you're going to need is some high temp silicone coating. That's to spray on it afterwards, otherwise it'll fray and look really tattered. If you've ever seen header wrap that looks like shit, it's probably just wasn't sealed with this stuff. You get it in black for the black. It also will coat the bands, and the bands will actually stay black. The ones on my bike, you know, they started silver, sprayed them with this, and they're still black after a year's worth of use, and they look great. I'm not going to wrap the cat. I'm probably going to cook that anyway, so why keep any more heat in it? But for everything else, we want to keep as much heat in the exhaust, more flames, and less heat in the engine bay. So I'm going to wrap the muffler and then this elbow all the way back to the V-band. You want to make sure you fold this edge under. It helps pinch it quite a bit better. So let's see if we can get that on camera there. So yeah, fold that under like an inch and then start wrapping on top of that. You can also see I put a little extra on here. The hardest thing about header wrap is just planning and getting your whole roll around each time. You want to clamp everything down really tight. As you can see, I'm putting quite a bit of force. The water actually helps loosen up the tape so that it can pull even tighter. It's important to remember we're going to let it dry before we spray it. Now, these are typically the bands that you would buy. You can buy the DEI ones. I got these at Princess Auto, or you can get them Harbor Freight for a lot cheaper. They won't fit on this, so I could double those up, but I just happen to have some bigger ones from a industrial project. I'm going to use these for the muffler. I might recommend safety glasses. You're going to get black dye in the eye. So I'm going to put another clamp here. Some would argue that you don't need one. To me, that extra couple ounces is worth not worrying about this starting to unravel. Sometimes figuring out how best to clamp it is the hardest part, but take your time because you don't want this slipping out. And in my case, I could dent the tip or beat up the V-band. Just take your time, make sure it's secure, so then you can really tug on it. So before I start this last part, I got this little bit left over from when I did the motorcycle, and I want to use it. It's not enough to do this whole thing, so what I'm going to do, it's going to be time lapse, but you'll see me join in another piece. I'll start here, go around. Whenever this stops, I'll fold it over, and then start the other piece right over the top of it. You don't need to do a whole section in one roll. If it's easier, you can cut it and do it in a couple. You may or may not have to put a clamp there. I'm going to put a clamp there. Why not? So that's it. I'll put it out in the sun tomorrow, let it dry really good. You can install it, bake it, it's probably the best way, and then spray it with the silicone. But then you gotta install it twice, so who wants to do that? So I'll put it out in the sun tomorrow, get it good and dry, cut off all these little ends, and then we'll spray it down with the silicone and install it. Just a warning, when you install it, it is going to smoke like a son of a bitch. But that's in a video coming later. Couple of coats of high temp silicone, DEI. So that about wraps this this episode up in this project. Next time you see this, hopefully it'll be smoking off and the car will be running. Peace.